if you know, what is the average? Because I know you mentioned with industries, no one is using 20,000, no one's hitting the 20,000 gallon mark. Um, what is the average for just the average resident, for the residential users, if you know,
2,600.
2,600?
Yeah, so, and if I'm right, looking at everything and hearing what you said, 2,600, which is what the average household, use. So option one, you're saying the additional cost onto the monthly bill is $1.10.
Right.
And then option two, on a monthly bill, the additional cost would be 58 cents.
Correct.
And on option three, the additional cost would be $1.73 added onto the bill.
Right.
So if somebody got a $50 bill, I mean, you talk option one, it'll be 51.10. Option two, it'll be 58 cents. Option three, it'll be 51.73 cents.
Thank you. That's why I was looking at option two.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's not, I think between yourself and Melanie, you guys have come up with good, options on how to divide, this cost. And I don't see, a crazy increase on anyone's bill if you're just paying anywhere between 58 cents to $2 additional to the bill.
Well, the option two has a lot of different things with it too, so it's not just the 58 cents we're saving. Then you look at it, the interest. We got to look at it all as a whole. And to me, is what's the benefit? What's good for Oxford? We can't. Yes, Mayor Pro Temp is right. We have industries trying to look at new location and put business in the city. But like I said, none of these guys are just gonna pack up and get out of here. And if they go somewhere else, we either got to look at the rates. We already know the big three is way up in the sky. And if they go to RTP, probably double what they're paying. I think we still need to look and see what every little small town has an industry in there and see what their rates are. And we just don't want to leave ourselves and say, okay, fine. For me, it's a burden on our citizens. It's quite a bit. The commercial side also, we've seen commercial picking up here in the city, and they use a lot of water for their business too. So, which may end up on the other side. If you raise the commercial side, they may say, I'm gonna raise more in your meals, but how much are we gaining? How much are we losing?
And to be honest with you, a lot of these businesses now here in town, I understand Raleigh, Wake Forest, a lot of those big cities, a lot of those businesses are expensive because of their water rate there and everything else. Here, it's gotten to the point that a lot of these businesses are just as expensive as Raleigh and everything else with the small town water rate.
Yeah.
And so they're making a killing. While the citizens are left to carry a portion of the burden.
Commissioner Bridges.
When is the last time we did an increase in the water rate? Because I know that there was an increase when we were trying to get grants and other things to deal with our infrastructure. And the only way we could be eligible for those grants and that money was that we had to have a certain rate relative to the water rate. And I'm just trying to figure out when did we last increase it, because I am reluctant also to increase the water rate for our residents. Now, I feel a little differently about our business.
It was last year, and
Okay.
it was to get caught up from, I think, 2 or 3 years of not doing it. And so
Right.
what our consultant recommended was a 3% across the board, pretty much every year on out, essentially covering inflation. And so that's what we initially talked about doing. And then you asked me to look at other scenarios to try to ease that burden. And on a couple of these scenarios, it's a little over 1% increase on the in-city residents, just to kind of give you a perspective of that. And then the business goes anywhere between 4 and 5 to 6% in that range. So they do start taking on more of that goal that we're trying to raise, but certainly it's not zero. But the objective is to try to keep it incrementally so that we don't have to do it pretty hard 2 or 3 years from now. So that was the objective.
You done, sir?
Yeah, so are we incrementally supposed to increase the water rates for our residents? Are we
That's
supposed to do it based on what the plan and goal was?
that's typically what's proposed because that's the easiest, simplest thing to do. But ultimately, you just want to get to the same revenue. This exercise, for example, is a very labor-intensive exercise because you have to go. You think with all this technology, oh yeah, you could just spit anything out, but you have to go through a lot of accounts. You have to run through a lot of scenarios. I mean, it's putting a lot of eyes on it. So it takes a while to do, which is fine. We're not complaining, just letting you know that it's not as simple as spitting that out. So that's why when a consultant recommends that, it's just easier to do it across the board. So.
Last year, when we did the budget, that's when it was recommended that every year for a certain period of time, the water rates get increased. Now, again, it's a good thing we go to this exercise. Our industries has not carried a load. They've had a lot of benefits off this. Commissioner Bella said food is expensive in Durham, Raleigh. Food is expensive here too. I love our restaurants, and I support them. I go, but if anybody been out here in town to eat lately, it's not cheap. It's expensive.
It's Raleigh prices.
Yeah,
I mean, that goes with the national economy,
Yes.
price. Everywhere is expensive because it's just expensive. Not only because of our water or not being, but it's just expensive everywhere. So we've got to factor in the fact that we've got to make some adjustments. Personally speaking, even if we do put it to the businesses, it's gonna come back on the citizens anyway. You're talking about the restaurant industry. If we increase on the top side, well, on the bottom side, it's gonna be on the top side. When you go order, you're gonna pay for that increase.
That's why I think that's why I believe we have a rates for industrial and commercial, right? You break it down. Industry outside, in here, the commercial.
We have not broken it down by industrial or commercial. That can be done, but remember, there's fewer of them, so it's
Right.
it'd be a way bigger number on the industrial for sure. So.
Mr. Toby.
yeah, well, I think you said that most of the businesses within the city do not come to that tier of 20,000 gallons or above, do they? Most of them are well below that 20,000 gallons.
I'd say most of them, but you did get a list of who hits that
Yeah,
number.
I've got the list, yeah.
If it's by consumption and you have some of the largest consumers not paying the proportionate amount of the bill, the problem with services like water is that as the rates increase, the water doesn't change. The service doesn't change for you. Your shower's not going to feel any better. Your drinking water is not going to taste any better. Your ice is not going to be any colder. So as a citizen, people are complaining that it continues to go up, but they don't see the benefit, the cost benefit of, they just see my taxes went up, my water bill went up, my sewage rate went up, but they're consuming the commodity at the same rate that they've always been consuming it. So that's where the ire comes from the public. And I do think that it's worth a look. And we need to see the numbers as far as if industry is using a lot of water or a disproportionate amount and they're not being charged for it. And I mean, if you had not free lunch, but close to free lunch, reduced lunch for that long, it may be time for us to revisit because the economy has changed. And the factors, the variables have changed from when they made that deal. So now we may have to revisit that.
I would say, on the first thing, and I know you know this, but I'm saying this more for the benefit of people at home. Yeah, the shower may not be better, but their lines are more reliable now because they've been replaced that were, 50 plus years old. And that was millions and millions of dollars that we're still having to pay for. So you're right, it's underground. They don't see it. It's like anything else. I mean, that's kind of how that is. But also when that line breaks on Christmas Eve and several people are out there fixing it, their Christmas Eve's not disrupted because several guys are out there fixing it. So, unfortunately, again, nobody sees that unless you're out there with them. And we have to compete for that. We have to compete for materials, we have to compete for labor and all that. And so, unfortunately, we just have to maybe kind of try to explain that to folks that, when you have to buy stuff, well, we do too, as well. And that's kind of what we're looking at here. Is you got some debt service as well as trying to keep up with other costs in the economy.
Commissioner Velez, you was up next.
I know y'all don't have the actual rate, but if you guys had to guess the percentage on the difference from the bigger city water rate to ours, where would you say?
I mean, it would be hard between us and them. I really don't want to guess because some of them also calculate it different too. So whereas we do it per 1,000 gallons, that's I think per cubic feet. So there's a lot of refigure you have to do to get apples to apples in some of these places. So I'd rather just get that to you and send it to you. I think the last time I looked at it, we're probably in the middle, not highest, not the lowest. But that was a year or two ago when I looked at it.
We have, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I was
Go
going
ahead,
to
go
say,
ahead.
I'd like to see some comparisons with comparable municipalities. I mean, I ain't trying to think about what Raleigh and Durham does compared to us. What I'd like to see is how far off are we with comparable municipalities. I am still very reluctant to support an increase for our residents. But I am much more open to our businesses.
And certainly we can get that for you.
Yeah.
I will say this, just for FYI, sometimes some of your bigger producers like Raleigh, the Wake system, they produce for several smaller towns. So you'll be seeing that in a way from the bigger cities because they feed like Zebulon and places like that.
Mm. Well, I'd like to be able to articulate with a resident that gets pissed off because their water rate went off. And the way that I can articulate it is
Sure.
to tell them how far behind we are relative to comparable municipalities.
Sure.
You know, they don't want me to compare us to Raleigh. They don't want me,
That's
you
high,
know,
yes.
they want to know, are we, you know,
Compatible,
Yeah.
to say for Roxborough.
yeah.
Yeah, I would say we would probably look at municipalities within a 4-county region
Yeah.
of all sizes, and that way you can kind of see.
Right.
And I think if you give them that scenario and explain to them again what this money, what your water bill has really been doing for you.
Hmm.
Now we're going to meter, to the, what's the meter,
The AMIs.
and that's gonna be able to let you know instantly that you've got a leak in your house, rather than your water bill going a complete month and you get a bill and you got this drastic water bill, a leak that you didn't know anything about, because that do happen. Well, we're going to a system where if you got a leak, it's detected right then. You're notified right then. There's a saving, but there's a cost for that new equipment. And I agree with the commissioner when he says people just look at the bill and see the increase in bill, but not understand why the increase. So if we have good information to give them as to why that rate increased, no matter how minute that amount was, then I think our residents will be more acceptable on it. Now, when it gets to the industries, nobody here knows what the handshake was years ago. And really,
That's right.
you know, but we have to still use common sense with them too. Because we're living in a time now where people don't care what it costs. You know, they'll get upset and yeah, the incentive should be that you don't pay tax, so you gotta pay something. I mean, we love you being here, but we'll lay them up, you know. They give you just a free ride. Nobody gets a free ride.
Right.
So if you're not paying on one end, then common sense tell you gotta pay on the other end.
I think we have till the 30th of June to pass the budget. And that gives us time to think about it and really do our research. And I know we put a lot on the finance manager, but she's happy doing it for us. And there's a lot of work. There's a lot of work. She's been working quite a bit on that. And I appreciate seeing her doing this every day. And but we still need to come to the right solution. And
Yeah.
and I think we all on the same sheet, like we don't want to affect our residents. But like I said, if the industry's been getting away, not getting away, they've been dealing with what they were offered when they first came, when nobody's adjusted it. Now, I think it's an obligation of this board to look into that and make the adjustments we need and minimize what we'll have to do to our residents. Well, when I say residents, we all pay the same bill too. And the last thing I'm gonna say, that system that was installed, I think it's on every commissioner's house, the new system. My rate is not going up. I think it dropped maybe $2. I don't want to say too long. The finance manager may come after me, but I think it dropped
Yeah, we're
maybe.
gonna check it out.
So it's still in the same. It's still in the same average, maybe $2. That's it. And I think that's pretty good. I don't know you guys.
It
See your
saved
bill.
me, it saved me a little while ago because I got a telephone call from City Hall saying your water bill is much higher than it normally is, almost twice as much. What's going on? They said, you're running your water all the time, 24 hours a day. I said, no, I haven't even been there. And they could see it from the office. And I had a leak
And it's
under
fair.
the house. I had a leak under the house.
Now, we don't want the industries to get the idea that we think that they have not benefited the city of Oxford.
Right.
Because Oxford, we have benefited from corporations being here. And when I say benefit, I'm saying our citizens being employed there. But we still have to consider what they are getting and what they're getting.
But that's another point. It is what percentage of the employees actually live in Oxford?
Very-
If they live outside Oxford, then the businesses are getting double. It's high. So let's look at what percentage,
Well, all you gotta do is go out there at the traffic light
and see
on
which way they
158
turn.
and watch.
You watch it.
Watch the traffic when they get off at red line, they're all going north.
How about if I do this then? We'll get some comparable rates.
Okay.
We'll look at an option with no residential increase other than what you've been presented. We'll also look at, as best we can, what the outside industry does in supporting the city. As soon as we can prepare that for you, then we would reconvene and discuss this further.
Yeah, I think this is budget month, and we all expect these extra meetings. So I don't think anybody should feel if we get called in for extra meetings. So I think yes, sir, for you and the finance manager to find all that. How
And
you
thank you for the numbers you provided. Definitely help create a very clear picture. We just need a little bit more additional information, but what you provided, thank you for your hard work on that. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Is
Awesome.
there anything needed other than what I just said? Or if you think of it, you
As far as other municipalities, I'd like to see municipalities, included that are on the same, water system, Carl Lake, same water quality. I mean, because I think,
well, I'll be too, but.
yeah, I know, but I just want to make sure we saw those. But
I'll go to Saturday.
because I think it's important for people to realize how lucky we are to have the
Clean
water
water.
quality that we do have.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the PFAS and toxic chemicals, forever chemicals, whatever you want to call them. And I think that's something to look at.
Okay.
And we want to keep it that way, so
Yeah.
we may have to spend some money to maintain it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes,
Mayor.
sir. We will move to next item, which is to set the agenda for Tuesday's meeting. I will bypass all this opening part, public comments, public hearing. We have one delegation, which is Mr. Garziano, Senior Public Risk Consultant, presenting the risk assessment finding for Oxford Police Department, and Oxford Police Department is consistent in getting a higher score. So that's why he's presenting an award. Public hearing, we're gonna hold a public hearing on rezoning requests from Carolyn Noblin on 413 Nomley Road, consisting of 55 plus acres, from industrial park district to residential agriculture. And the applicant wishes to have the family farm rezoned from industrial park to district residential agriculture located on Auburn Road. That's the public hearing for today. We'll vote on it. And the next one shall be 5.2, consider annexation petition by David Chapman to annex 28 plus acres referred to as Thorndale Villas by asking city clerk to investigate the sufficiency of the request. I think we'll call for annexation after we have that request done, right? Or we actually calling for annexation. Then we go to 5.3, consider request by Anna Austin for text amendment of the mobile food vendor requirements to include push carts. Call for public hearing is needed. Request for text amendment to the mobile food vendor requirements to include push cart. The planning board recommendation that the amendment as presented be denied. And we'll call for public hearing. Call for public hearing is needed. This subject been going to for quite a while, so maybe not time, but I think we need to look and see what's the definition of push cart. I agree that we should do certain things, but we can address that later.
Did the planning board say anything about why they think it should be denied? I mean, is it?
I think there was Mrs. Hart is here, but I don't think that Mr. Thomas is here. But there was some requests for parking and stuff like that. So maybe if Mrs. Hart wanted to
Right,
address.
so the request expected more than just allowing push carts. So it kind of co-mingled requirements for the food trucks. And so as it was presented, that's why the planning board recommended that it be denied and they bring it back for just push carts. And not co-mingled with other requirements.
I think on that, like I said, in part of that meeting, it was some like 10 different locations highlighted for parking spaces and where they would like to have permission granted, and like, it's kind of difficult. Do we, push carts are good? Yes. You see them all over, but it's kind of, in the size push cart, that's not a push cart to me. 5-4, consider petition for non-contiguous annexation for 527 acres, referred to as Prairie Farm, by asking the city clerk to investigate sufficiency of requests of property located on Prairie Road, Salem Road, and Horner Siding Road. The owners are petitioning for annexation in order to provide services for residential mixed-use development. And we'll call for the city to investigate the sufficiency of the requests. 5.5, accept petition for annexation of 409 plus acres from John Hunt as asked city clerk to investigate the sufficiency of the petition. The owners of the property received approval of a conditional rezoning for residential mixed-use development located off Landis Tam Street and Salem Road. Ask the city clerk to investigate the sufficiency of the petition for annexation. 5.6, will be considered approving the low bid for the Neighborhood Revitalization CDBG program. In 2023, the city officer was awarded $950,000 in CDBG funds for the NC Department of Commerce Rural Economic Development Division for the rehabilitation of owner-occupied single-family homes within the city. The cost of rehabilitation are averaging between $150 to $175 per square foot per residence. All funds are within the budget, and no local city funds or private homeowner funds are required. The staff is recommending that low bid be approved as presented for the following addresses and amounts. Be 117 Franklin Street, which is $177,692. The other one is 204 Ham Street, same amount, just about $117,638. The third one is New College Street, $177,720. And the other one is 407 West Front Street, $177,733. 5.7. Go ahead, sir.
Is there any risk that we could lose this funding?
When you say any risk, you mean?
Yeah, can somebody, I'm concerned about Washington DC and Raleigh. And I want to know, can these funds be taken
Away.
from us?
As of right now, I've not heard anything about them being taken or even being considered being taken.
As of right
And
now.
so, yes, so we have no reason to believe that.
Okay.
They only
Spend
want-
the money.
They only want 10 million. They only want 10 million. They don't want 950.
Okay.
As of right now.
5.7, consider approving the 2025 road closure ordinance for DOT. The DOT requires an ordinance to close state-owned roads for events. Currently, 3 events take place on state-owned roads. Sauce Contest, Veterans Day Parade, the Christmas Parade. Is it Cultural Fest Sunday?
It's not on
It's not on the state road?
I don't think it's on the state road.
That's what I was gonna ask, man.
This would be for the fall, coming fall. I think it's already been taken care of.
Okay, all right. Staff recommends approving the 2025 road closure ordinance for DOT. So what you'll say is taken care of. 5.1, consider approving the FY 2025-26 budget ordinance. Staff recommends approving the FY 25-26 ordinance, budget ordinance to be attached. That's if we get this done before, but our deadline is June 30th. We know that. So it's going to be on there, but we don't have to do it if we're not ready for it. Okay, that's not that care. Consent agenda, consent items we adopted with single motion, second and vote unless the request for removal from consent agenda is heard from a council member. Will be accepted April 2025 financial report. And the other one will be approved the May 5th and May 13th minutes. That's it.
That's it.
Commissioner Velez.
What you just brought up about the cultural festival and what else is it? The wine and beer. The Main Street is a state road, so I would like to have that added. Anything that's done on Main Street, I would like to have it.
Okay.
To 5-7.
I think the city manager said this is just for the fall, right?
This is
Just
the fall
the
of
fall.
2025.
So we'll have to do it again for the spring?
Mhm.
Okay, so this is just for the fall. So we're legit right now. Any other questions? Okay, this is what you guys like to hear. So we adjourn? Well, we want to do comments. Okay, let's do comments today. We don't do that agenda meeting, but Commissioner Bellis.
I don't have nothing, man.
Commissioner Lumpkins.
Nothing at this time.
Mr. Brooks.
Real quick, the mayor and I on Friday attended a very informative program. It was a town hall discussing our children and hunger in the schools. Very informative. And I'll send you all, each commissioner, some information. I think this is a worthy cause that the city of Oxford needs to invest in. Because we feed our prisoners 3 times a day, but some of our children don't get fed 3 times a day. And some of them eat on Friday at lunch at school, and they don't eat again until Monday at breakfast. So, like I said, I'll get the information to you, but that was a very, very informative program, and I was glad to be a part of it, representing this board and the city of Oxford.
Commissioner McCray.
It's just real brief. I just want to reach out and thank each and every one of the board members and the public as well. As you all may be aware, we suffered a extremely unfortunate death in my family over the last couple of days. And those of you who reached out to offer your prayers and condolences, know that they're greatly appreciated. And I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you.
City Manager. Mr. Toby.
Just a couple of little things. Thank you for everybody and reaching out there for supporting the farmers market. And as Commissioner Brooks was saying about feeding the children, I'm not sure whether people are aware that ACIM do send, even in the summertime, they do send the children home at weekends with food bags. It's not enough. We need more help to make sure these children are fed. So thank you for bringing that up, Commissioner. That's it.
Mr. Bridges.
Yeah, some of our legislators want to get rid of Smart Start. A whole lot of programs that make sure our kids have food. I'm sure there's going to be an attack on free lunches for students who, because of their income, family's income, you know. So that is what we need to worry about, is all of these cuts that are coming forward because of our legislators we elected. And I'm just hoping that we can survive all of these efforts to cut programs that feed our children, that deal with drug abuse and other things that affect our community. So I'm glad you were able to attend that. I was not aware of it, but I certainly have an interest in making sure our young people have some food in their belly, because a lot of times the brain doesn't work if you're hungry. And since I come from a family of 11 and grew up in the projects, I know what it meant to be hungry and trying to study and go to school at the same time. And it's a shame that we go after our babies who just want to learn and grow. And I'm not kidding. We got legislators who could care less whether or not poor families are able to feed their kids.
That's true. Mayor Pro Tem?
I'm going to another level. As you all know, may or may not know, all Job Corps. Those children were sent home.
Yeah.
Right.
Some of them didn't have anybody to pick them up, nowhere to go. So that's a lot of young people back out on the streets. So we've got to call Raleigh, call Washington, call somewhere, because not only are our school children being denied, but young people, and every child that's in Job Corps is not a thug. And some trained, talented, educated people have come out of Job Corps. In fact, I know Kitchener Job Corps has sent home some well-trained young people,
Yeah.
and their doors have been shut. Yes, ma'am. All. Yes, ma'am. All Job Corps. All Job.
So I don't want to hear the complaints about increased crime.
Because they just opened the door.
Right along that line, I attended the Institute, which deals with early childhood development, and they're subject to be cut. Dealing with Head Starts, daycare centers, and so forth.
Yes.
So that's it seems like when it rains, it pours. That's not but that's very serious. And the legislature, part of the federal government, they want to cut our kids, and those that oppose it because they're too conservative to think about it, they believe that we have it, so I don't have to worry about it. The ones that don't have it, they suffer. Our kids go, and it's not just the government. We got to get our churches. I attended a function where at Penn Avenue Baptist Church, and Pastor Smith's wife, Vanessa, put on all the attendant one, I won't say the word, good program, and where you had kids sitting in choir. That was an experience. It's the second year. And we need some of our clergies and our churches to get involved in their community, as when we were kids growing up, or we had summer schools, and we can see how to help. Because, yeah, we point at government, which is guilty, I say, about 99% of everything. So some people may not like it, but that's a fact. They don't really care about our kids. And I want to say to my board members here, I'm proud of you guys, because we're in the schools. We're in the schools. When the schools invite the program, we're there. And I've been to some programs in the end of the year when I was the only elected official there. I know most of you work, but this board shows up, you support schools, and the schools know that, and they really want us in there. And talk about web school, they talk about web school. That principal down there ain't no joke. They're tired for these kids to put on. They can't go to school with the baggy pants hanging down. Mr. Furby don't play that. That Army retired staff sergeant don't play that game.
Army.
Well, somebody had to do it.
Army.
But that's what it takes, and I think this board is working. And what Commissioner Brooks mentioned, the kids, you have kids at home, and you raise your kids, you give them breakfast. By 9 o'clock, they want a snack. And you know how the snack is coming? The school teachers are taking it out of their pocket, which they're not getting paid enough. So I think in somehow what we can do and help, where they're running a fund because the lottery, the educational lottery fund, I don't know where it's going to, it's not going to the schools. Okay? And I think Perry, no. You got me thinking maybe. Commissioner Bellis wanted to say something. You did that.
Something real quick, it just slipped my mind in the beginning, and I just thought of it. I want to give, recognition to the Orange Street Community Center. This week they did, they're doing a summer camp from today to the 6th. And I took my son up there and his cousin up there. There's probably about 30-some kids there. And when a 7-year-old comes back home and he's excited about the things they did and everything, and he's looking forward to going tomorrow, that tells me that the Orange Street Community Center is doing a great job with these kids, and I want to applaud them for the hard work that they're doing. That community center has come a long way, a long way.
Starts at 8:30 every morning, so I missed this morning.
And to the churches that support it. Some of the churches
Saint
were sponsors of it, so.
St. Stephen's Episcopal Church is supporting that along with St. Cyprian's. And with that, anybody else?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I didn't ask you.
Hey.
Motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor? Any opposed?
Sit still.
Adjourn.